Welcome back to Next Gen Investing. It's now time for Under 30, and today we are talking UiPath, which has risen now almost 40% just this week so far. Joining us now is George Tsilis, Senior Markets Correspondent for the network, for some more factors on why we're seeing this phenomenal jump. And today is no exception, as we're up another 15% today, George.
Yeah, it's a good question, Jenny. There's a lot going on with UiPath. I mean, first off, the company is effectively a software solutions company with an emphasis in robotic process automation, which is essentially sort of software that helps, robotics, like manufacturing robots, for instance, do deterministic outcomes. In other words, do specific tasks. And the company's actually making some changes. They're moving more so to what's called an agentic AI model, which is essentially one where they're programming the robots to figure out different tasks over time as needed. In other words, it's one that's more adaptive in nature. And if you think about the way robotics is moving, integrating with artificial intelligence, they're becoming very intelligent in terms of figuring out solutions for particular types of manufacturing problems or robotic problems, whether it's, Tesla's, Optimus robots, which are expected to come to marketplace, or vehicle robotics. But there's a big push as of late. And if you think about what's happened with AMD, for instance, as well, because they're in the news lately, these companies, UiPath, which is a software company, and AMD, which is a semiconductor company, are moving in the same direction when it comes down to factory automation, robotic processing technologies. And I think they're bound together with companies like OpenAI, because if you look at some of the news lately as well for UiPath and as well for AMD, OpenAI seems to be partnering up closely with UiPath as well as AMD. And I think that serves as a near-term or short-term catalyst that we've seen as of late for UiPath's stock price performance.
All right, George, I'm going to try to figure out a way to ask this that makes sense. But in this world of innovation and transition with AI, is it more advantageous to be a company solely focused on the task, OpenAI, UiPath, or is it more advantageous in your mind to be a Meta and have a core business that can finance this process, or a Tesla that can finance this process? And maybe there's no clear answer. I want your thoughts on that, though.
Well, it's a good question, as a broader question. But look, I think if you look at companies like UiPath, as an individual company, there are some challenges. In fact, if you look at the last 4 years, the stock price is down significantly off its highs. It's made some nice moves as of late, so there's no doubt. Year to date, it's up, I think, 40%. That suggests to me that there's two things happening. That one, they're moving more towards the agentic artificial intelligence model, and they talked about this transition. And two, the relationships and partnerships with deep pocket names like AMD and OpenAI. That's important, especially if you're a small cap company like this, and it's small cap to mid cap, around $8.5 billion. Because one of the things I noticed, and if you go back to last month when the company reported their earnings in September, and that was again over a month ago, the stock has actually increased slightly since then, but really taken off as of late. The reason being is that we talk about this all the time, that the company actually posted significantly higher adjusted earnings number, 15 cents versus I think the 7 or 8 cents estimate. Those numbers were very close to break even. So the company seems to be accelerating its earnings growth, appears to be gaining scalable traction in partnerships. And therefore, I think its business is evolving as partnering up, or as it's partnering up with bigger players. Again, because scalability in this market really matters. But nonetheless, I think I'm tying in AMD for a reason. The stock has been performing extremely well. AMD is a very complete company. It's not a GPU only or CPU company. They bought Xilinx and application-specific integrated circuits. They are focusing aggressively on industrial automation, factory automation, and robotics. And I think that's a trend that's going to continue. Just look at Tesla. Their goals are to, of course, bring forth Optimus robots, which are intelligent, robots using artificial intelligence. They're still far off, but nonetheless, this is certainly an area of very big interest to look at. And lastly, I'll say this. Sometimes these moves don't make sense, but in this case, for UiPath, I'm not saying it's going to continue higher from here. They are profitable and the profits are growing. That's important in the context of looking at, stocks that are moving in a parabolic capacity versus those that fall out of favor.
Yeah, that's a good point. And also, I was just looking at things. The short interest actually isn't that high, but I was checking because anytime I see it move this parabolic, you think, is there any degree of a short squeeze happening? But I mean, hey, 40% climb for the week. Not a bad week so far for UiPath. So appreciate it, George, for all of the insight, the breakdown on the move we've seen over the course of the last 4 or so trading sessions.